I saw my husband's hand. It hovered over my glass for just a moment. His thumb and fingers moved, and something tiny fell into my white wine. Chardonnay. He thought I was busy on my phone, but I was watching the reflection of his face in the kitchen window glass. My heart began beating so loudly that I thought Ryan, my husband, might hear it. I looked at the glass. The wine was perfectly clear. Whatever had fallen into it had dissolved instantly. "Ava, are you okay?" Ryan's mother, Mrs. Gable, asked. "You've gone pale." "My name is Ava Vance. I am 30 years old, and my husband has just poisoned me." "I'm fine," I said. "Just a little work stress." We were all gathered for Sunday dinner at Ryan's parents' old house in Chicago. Ryan's father, his sister Sarah, and her 2 children. Everyone was there. A perfect American family dinner, except that my husband was trying to kill me. Ryan raised his glass. "Cheers to a great Sunday dinner, Mom," he said with a smile. Everyone clinked their glasses. Ryan looked at me. His face was the same innocent face that had made me marry him. But his eyes held a strange glint. He was waiting. He wanted to see when I would take the first sip. I brought the glass to my lips, but didn't drink. I left my phone in the kitchen. Maybe there's an urgent work call. I'll be back in a minute. I quickly went into the hallway, entered the bathroom, and locked the door. My hands were trembling. I thought about calling the police, but what proof did I have? Just a suspicion? They would ask me where the poison was, and I would have no answer. I had to use my mind. I thought about Ryan's behavior over the last few months. He had changed. New passwords on his laptop, late-night office meetings, and a sudden change in our life insurance policy. He had increased our policy to $1 million, with a double payout on accidental death. I hadn't paid attention then, but now it was all clear. I returned to the table. Ryan looked at me, then at my glass. "You haven't finished your wine. It's your favorite." "I'm about to drink it," I said. Just then, Ryan's mother called from the kitchen. "Sarah, come help take the turkey out of the oven." Sarah got up and went into the kitchen. Ryan's father went to the hall to play with his grandkids. Ryan's attention drifted to a notification on his phone for a moment. That was my chance. Quickly, I swapped my glass with Ryan's. Ryan's wine and my wine were exactly the same. I placed the glass exactly where his glass had been. My heart was in my throat, but my hands didn't tremble at all. Ryan put down his phone and smiled at me. I took a big sip from his glass, the glass now in front of me. Delicious," I said. Ryan thought he had won. He picked up his glass, the glass he had poisoned himself. "Good. We should celebrate today, Ava. To a new beginning." He drank the entire glass in one go. I looked at the clock on my phone. 7:12 p.m. I started a mental countdown. Ryan looked very relaxed now. He began eating his dinner with pleasure. "Don't you think this year is going to be huge for us?" he asked. "Huge, Ryan. Bigger than you could ever imagine," I replied in a flat voice. 5 minutes passed. Ryan was laughing, playing with Sarah's daughter. 10 minutes passed. I began to wonder if I had been wrong. Maybe he hadn't poisoned the glass. But then, after 15 minutes, Ryan cleared his throat. He took a deep breath. "Is the AC on in here? I'm feeling a little suffocated." "No, Ryan. The weather is fine," his mother said. 20 minutes. Ryan's face began to turn red. He loosened his collar. I'm feeling a little dizzy. Maybe too much wine." He tried to stand up, but his legs stumbled. His glass fell off the table and shattered. "Ryan!" his mother screamed. Ryan's face suddenly began turning blue. He clutched his chest and fell to the floor. Froth started coming from his mouth. chaos erupted throughout the house. Sarah ran to call an ambulance. Ryan's father tried to revive him. But I stood right there. I bent down and whispered softly into Ryan's ear. "Accidental death clause, Ryan. $2 million. Not for you, but it'll work for me." Ryan opened his eyes. There was the fear of death on his face, and an even greater fear, the realization that I knew everything. The ambulance arrived in 10 minutes. As they carried him out on the stretcher, I quietly collected the remaining pieces of Ryan's shattered wine glass into a plastic bag. I now had evidence. Ryan was taken away in the ambulance, and the entire family rushed to the hospital. But I stayed behind, to erase some evidence that could be used against me, and to gather new evidence that would destroy Ryan forever. The hospital waiting room was cold and silent, except for the sound of Ryan's mother crying. The doctors said Ryan's condition was critical. They thought it was a sudden cardiac arrest. But I knew exactly what was happening inside his body. I went into the hospital washroom and called my brother, Leo. Leo was a senior chemist at a forensic lab in Chicago. "Leo, I need your help, right now. Don't ask questions," I said, my voice trembling. "Ava, at this hour? What happened?" "I've sent you a sample, a piece of broken glass and a few drops of wine. I need a toxicology report in 12 hours. Find out what's in it." I left the hospital and sent the bag to Leo through a courier service. When I returned to the waiting room, Ryan's sister Sarah looked at me with suspicious eyes. "Where were you, Ava? Ryan is your husband, and you were gone?" I went out to get some fresh air. I was feeling dizzy," I lied. By noon the next day, Ryan had regained consciousness, but he wasn't in a condition to speak. The doctors were baffled as to how a fit 32-year-old man could suffer such a massive attack. Ryan's eyes searched the room for me. When our eyes met, I saw the same fear in them from last night. He now understood that he had dug his own grave. Just then, my phone rang. It was Leo. "Ava, this report is horrific," Leo said in a low voice. "The wine contains traces of aconitine. It's called the Queen of Poisons. It's so dangerous that even a small dose can block the heart. Ava, whose wine was this?" "Thank you, Leo. I'll tell you later." I hung up and went straight to Ryan's parents' house. Ryan had always kept an old drawer in his office locked. I opened it with a screwdriver. What I found inside made me lose my senses. There was a file containing my life insurance policy papers, with my fake signature on them. He had checked the accidental death clause. Along with that, I found a small vial with no label, but inside was the same blue powder that aconitine is made of. But the biggest shock was yet to come. At the back of the drawer, I found a notebook. Ryan had been mixing small amounts of poison into my food for the last 6 months. The dates were written there. September 14th, 2 drops. Ava complained of headache. October 2nd, 3 drops. Ava felt dizzy. November 12th, final dose tonight. My blood boiled. He wasn't trying to kill me in one day. He was making me sick slowly, so that when I died, no one would suspect anything. Last night's final dose was meant for me, but I had switched it. I took photos of all the evidence and saved them to the cloud. Just then, I heard a voice behind me. "So you found it?" I turned around. Ryan's father, Mr. Gable, was standing at the door. In his hand was an old gun. "I thought Ryan was foolish, but not foolish enough to get caught," he said in a cold voice. "But you, Ava, you have tried to ruin our family's name. I'm not letting you go to the hospital with that report." Mr. Gable's eyes held no remorse, only the obsession to protect his family's legacy. He had aimed the gun at me. But he didn't know that I had learned how to survive among enemies over the last 2 years. "Mr. Gable," I said calmly, placing my phone on the table. "You think killing me will save Ryan? Ryan is already close to death, and if I don't walk out of here today, my brother already has instructions to send all these files directly to the FBI." Mr. Gable's hands trembled slightly. His arrogance was his weakness. "You're lying." "Check for yourself," I said, turning my phone screen toward him. A scheduled email was ready, containing photos of his old notebook and the poison vial. "This email will go out in exactly 10 minutes, unless I cancel it." Just then, the sound of police sirens came from downstairs. I had alerted the police right after leaving the hospital about suspicious activity in Ryan's office. Mr. Gable lowered the gun in anger. He knew the game was over. The hospital confrontation. I went straight to the hospital. Ryan was now conscious, but he couldn't speak. The poison had affected his vocal cords. The doctors said his condition was worsening. The aconitine was destroying his system from the inside. I sat next to his ICU bed and whispered into his ear, "Ryan, I found that special drawer in your office. Your notebook, your vial. I have everything. The police are waiting outside." Tears filled Ryan's eyes, not of remorse, but the pain of defeat. "I switched the glasses," I continued. "You mocked my exhaustion, but you underestimated my intelligence. Now your life insurance will pay me, but along with the punishment for your sins." The aftermath. Ryan died exactly 2 days later. The official cause was listed as organ failure, but the evidence I possessed turned the case into an attempted murder-suicide file, since he had drunk his own wine. Mr. Gable was arrested for accessory to crime and attempted assault. Sarah apologized to me, but I never forgave her. That family had now crumbled. A year later, I live in a new apartment in New York, far from Seattle. I still have that $2 million in insurance money, but I haven't touched it. I donated it all to a charity that helps women who are victims of domestic abuse. Today, whenever I drink soup or lift a glass of wine, I always check my reflection in the window glass. I have learned that family doesn't always mean loyalty. Sometimes the deepest wounds are inflicted by those who sit at the table and eat with you. There is silence in my home now, but this silence is not one of fear. It is one of freedom.